Well, it is, of course, 25 years ago this week that Rovers were crowned Premier League champions, and we're going to relive some memories, some stories from what was an unforgettable time for the players, staff, supporters of the football club, with a couple of men who played a big part in that title-winning success. We've got Mark Atkins and Jeff Kenna. Gentlemen, first of all, how are we? Both okay?
Yeah, grand.
Yeah, very good, thanks. Trying to keep going, aren't we? So I think everybody's in the same boat. But it's not easy, but you have to keep going.
25 years. Can you believe it? You know, sort of what goes through your mind when you know the anniversary is coming up?
I haven't really been thinking about it, to be honest. It's only in the last sort of, I suppose, month where people have got in touch and wanted a quote about this or do an interview about it. And it's not something that's been on my mind. But sort of now that people are talking about it, it's great. You know, it's a wonderful time, a fantastic era to be at the club, and obviously very proud to be part of a team that won the Premier League.
Does it bring all those memories flooding back, Mark?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been a bit different for me. I think, you know, we've known about this coming up for a while, with me being at Ewood quite a lot, watching the games, doing the radio and stuff like that. It's been mentioned quite a lot, and Kev Gallagher's tried to, I know, do some things to do with the 25 years, but it's not really come off because of what's happened. But you know, it's great memories, and nobody will ever take them memories away from you. You know, it's a great experience for us all. You know, nobody had won it before, so it was all new to us, and I think we were just going along thinking, you know, let's get the next game in straight away because we were doing so well. But yeah, great memories.
When you get the chance to sort of speak to each other and relive some of those stories, what is it like? Did you stay in touch with all the former teammates?
Well, I don't. I mean, we have numbers, but I think it's like any football club. You know, the players move on, you retire, you lose touch, you just, life takes over. You know, so I don't personally keep in touch with any of the lads. So, but I obviously can't speak for anybody else.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I know Kev Gallagher and Colin, I see them quite a lot. It's I mean, you know, Kev Gallagher and Colin, I see them quite a lot. And you know, Mimsy, I keep in touch with Mimsy and a couple of the others. But it's like Jeff says, it's one of them things of football, isn't it? When you go back and you see somebody, it's like you were there yesterday. You know, you remember everything, and everybody gets on because you've been in such an environment so close to each other. You know, you're trying to, you know, get yourselves winning and getting that final goal for all of you. And it's just something that it's like a family. And you never forget the people that, you know, helped you along the way.
How special was that group, Mark, that group of players?
Very, very special. I mean, you know, you've got to give a lot of credit to Kenny and Ray and Parksy, who were really, you know, I mean, obviously I was there from '88 and saw the change in the club that went through. But when they came in, it just took it to another level. You know, the respect everybody had for Kenny all the time was just something else. You know, if he'd have said go and run through that brick wall, I think, you know, 99% of us would have tried to run through that brick wall. It's just that sort of thing that you did. But great characters, you know, great laugh, jokes flying every day. You know, people, no, not really. You know, we had a training ground. And some days I'd be getting home at 4 or 5 o'clock and having to blame, you know, saying, "Oh yeah, we've done double sessions today," to the wife. You know what I mean? Because it was like he didn't want to go home. It was that good to be there, and everybody stayed. And you know, you could play pool, table tennis, and that when the new training ground was built. But yeah, you know, great characters. You know, even people. You know, David Baker. I mean, he gives another factor to the squad. You know, he was a bit abrupt and things like that, and he you know, but Bats loved a joke. You know, he could put himself around, but there was definitely a feel of 5 or 6 players that you had to keep away from, and you know, keep your door key when you went away. No, put it on the table. Actually, room would be turned up and all sorts. But there were things happening every day, which some things I don't think you can mention, but you know, great characters.
Jeff, who were the big jokers in the group then? You mentioned a group of 5 or 6 there.
Well, I can just reiterate what Ara said. You know, you had obviously Batley liked the joke, Newley liked the joke, but he had to be on the right side, and Newley could sort of switch very quickly and become a bit aggressive with it. I'm trying. Tim Sherwood, all the lads had a great sense of humour. I would say probably those three certainly would stick out in my mind more so than anybody else. But it was as Ara said, everybody had just come together at the right time, and the club, Kenny in particular, and Ray have to take credit for that.
So, Mark, what about Kenny as a character? You mentioned some of the jokers within sort of the playing group. Did you get to see that lighter side of Kenny? Because whenever you hear him speak now, he's got such a brilliant, dry sense of humour.
Yeah, I mean, Kenny was like just one of the players. From Monday to Friday, he was just joining the training. He was, probably the best player nearly every day in training when he could walk. He was fantastic ability still at that age. And, he just wanted to play. And I think a big thing that they brought into it was that everybody sat together. There was no them and us. It was just one group all together. Wherever we went away or whether we were having lunch in the canteen and that, everybody sat intermingled and you talked to each other and the staff would be around about you. But, Kenny had a great sense of humour, very dry and could kill somebody with a one-liner quite easy. We've seen that many a time. And you had to be careful what you said to him because he'd always come back with something. But, like I say, he was probably one of the big, when a joke was going on, he wanted to be involved in it, especially during the week. And then obviously we get to match day and he changes completely into the Kenny that everybody else has seen. So, yeah.
What were his team talks like then, Jeff? Is there anyone that sort of stands out to you?
Oh, but there's none that stand out. The thing I did notice is that in his team talks, he was quietly spoken. So you tended to listen that bit more to make sure you got what, and obviously you've got a broad Scottish accent. So you throw that into the mix as well. But I found myself, again, I can only speak for myself, listening that bit more intently because you wanted to make sure you got exactly everything that he was saying. And gosh, the team talks I can remember, it was all about how good the players were, what we'd achieved so far, what we can achieve. And it was all motivational in the sense of you'd go out there thinking that, you are one of the best players in the Premier League because you're at the top of the league and you only get there because you deserve to be there. And he was very motivational that way. I don't remember seeing him losing his rag. He could dig you out without actually having to pin you up against the wall, So from that, and I played under a few that would prefer to pin you up against the wall than talk to you about it. So for me, he was phenomenal. Obviously his playing career speaks for itself. His managerial career up till then was phenomenal. So for me, it was just a fantastic honour, I suppose, to be playing for him, to feel that he had the faith in me that he felt I could enhance the team or certainly play a part in the team to get the end result.
Did you kind of need that calming influence, particularly at the very tail end of the season as well, when it got a little bit twitchy?
I suppose it helped, yeah. I mean, at the time, you're just going with the flow, every game, the closer it got to the end of the season, it was just more and more about the result rather than the performance. And I remember the Newcastle game at home where we nicked a 1-0 win and Tim Flowers was pulling saves out of everywhere. How we didn't lose that game, I do not know. But that game in particular, I remember thinking then, gosh, that's to play like that and to come away with that result is just, that could be a little bit of a sign that something special is going to happen.
The group showed a bit of bottle then, did they, Mark, that night?
Bottle, yes, that's what he gave it, didn't he, Tim? I think he'd read an article, hadn't he, that morning. Somebody had put an article in the paper, one of the Man U players or Fergie himself, saying about we've got to show some bottle now, and that must have just stuck in his mind because in his interview, that's all he went on about, didn't he? But he was absolutely magnificent that night. I mean, to be fair, Newcastle played off the park. They should have won that game quite easily without him. They would have done. So that was a funny moment when you look back on it now. It's something that we'll never forget. That interview.
Were you aware of all those mind games going on?
Yeah, I think so. I think. I mean, they started early on. I think But once we got on a good run and got in front of Man U, there was always things going on, things being said. You know, I remember me and Tim Sherwood went to Manchester one night for a night out, and Roy Keane was in the bar, and he was wanting to come over trying to fight us and all that. Like, so, you know, things like that just really G'd up a little bit. And there was quite a bit of rivalry in them after the past 2 seasons as well. You know, the first 2 seasons of the Premier League when we were so close as well. So, yeah, I think Fergie knew when to say what he had to say, and Kenny knew when to say, come back to him and say his little bit. So, you know, the Devon lock was one thing that he said, didn't he, about us getting over the line. He put that to it. And but Kenny, I think, you know, you say talk about Kenny. Kenny was never any different any game. You would have thought the last game at Liverpool, especially being at Anfield, he would have been, you know, bagging nerves himself. But for the time I was with him, I never saw him any different, win, lose or draw. If you thought you'd put your shift in and you'd done your best, he was the same sort of guy. And every team talk, you know, you'd listen, like Jeff said, because you knew everything he was saying was spot on. There was no rambling and talking about things that didn't need to be said. He was straight to the point, told you how good you were. And, you know, at that stage of that season, we just felt we could go out and beat anybody. It was one of the games, you know, the only really season I can see myself in my career. So I thought every game, well, this is 3 points on the board, you know, straight away. And that's the confidence he was giving us all.
You brought Liverpool up there that day at Anfield. How vividly do you remember it? And I guess the tension that you must have been going through.
For me, I roomed with David Batty the night before. So he woke up. I was a little bit nervous, shall we say. And he was just hammering me. He was absolutely ripping me about being a little bit nervous and how big the game was and everything that was riding on it. And he took great pleasure in sort of playing on my nerves a little bit. But it's as Ara said, you know, everything was the same. We got up, you had breakfast, we went for a walk, we had pre-match, we had a team talk, everybody on the bus. Absolutely nothing changed in spite of the fact of the importance of the game. What I do remember vividly is, though, the closer we got to Anfield and we started to see Liverpool fans along the road, they were actually clapping us and willing us to win, you know, which is obviously I've never experienced anything like that before in my career whatsoever, where you go to an away ground and the home fans want you to win. But I suppose it just shows you should we say, the hatred, not love, between Liverpool and Man United. So that was very strange. The game itself, I remember bits and pieces. Obviously, Shearer scored, so I thought, great, here we go. This is us reverting to type. And then we had, I think Alan had a couple of chances and Chris Sutton had a couple of chances, which obviously we didn't take. And then I remember John Barnes, I think it was John Barnes scored, and my legs just went to lead. I just, from being all right and confident and comfortable, I just remember thinking, God, I can't run, I can't move, and it was just all in my head. But I was on the end of the wall then for Redknapp's free kick, and I just remember it whistled past my ear. And before I even turned around, it was in the back of the net, and I thought, oh my God, that's it now. We've lost it. Just my heart sank. And I think there was only a couple of minutes. We literally tipped off, and there was a little bit of play, and then that was it. But obviously, we knew before the end of the game. But I literally, my heart sank, and I thought, that's it. We've lost it. But then we got the news, obviously, about Man U at West Ham, and the rest then is a bit of a foggy haze.
Mark, you weren't playing that day at Anfield. Were you keeping in tabs with the Manchester United game? Was it the old school sort of radio in one hand, trying to listen out for their score as well?
It actually was a very strange day for me. I mean, Kenny pulled me on the Saturday and told me I was going to be sub on the Sunday at Anfield. So like I said, we went to hotel at St Helens and stayed there. The first time we'd ever been to that hotel. You know, we don't usually stay in that one. So it quite strange. Got up Sunday morning and got pulled again by Kenny, and basically he said Stuart Ritter had a bit of a strain in his groin. He was feeling it a bit, thought he could play, so he wanted to put Bobby Slater on the bench for cover. So, you know, it's one of them things that happens. You go along with it, and that's it. So we were, there was myself, Jason, Kev Gallagher, Tony Gale, one or two others I think who weren't playing. And we're in the change room before, and the lads were getting changed. And Kenny came over and said, "No good, you're going to be nervous or anything, you just stand around here. Go and get yourself a drink." So off we went, we go out, we're thinking we'll go in the players' lounge. That wasn't open. So some guy said, "Oh, come in here into the sponsors' lounge." So we went in the sponsors' lounge and in the bar, and we ordered a drink and stood there, and there was a singer on in the sponsors' lounge. And we thought to ourselves, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Why would you have a singer in a sponsors' lounge before the game? He was round the corner, so you couldn't see him. So we just thought maybe that's what they do every game, Liverpool. They have a singer on, different one every one. And then 10 minutes later, Razor Ruddock comes round the corner with a mic singing his head off. He's still not been home from last night. He's been drunk off his head and coming to the sponsored line singing songs for him. So that's just live and, you know, made it more lively in there. It was great. But the only problem was when we went back on the pitch in the dugout, Kenny was stood in a tunnel, which was the tunnel when you had to steps going up. And we were dying for the toilet, and you couldn't get up and go past and walk past the gaffer. Just say, "Hold on a minute, Gav, I'm just in the toilet." It was one of the things you had to hold yourself to half time till we got on. But yeah, I mean the game itself for us that didn't play, it was horrible. I mean, spoke to Colin last week about it, and he was saying he didn't enjoy the game. I don't think any of us probably would have done, the lads that played either. But I was sat right against the tunnel, and on the opposite side of that tunnel, there was the Sky Sports monitor was there with somebody who sat behind it. So we actually knew exactly what was going on all game, and I think that probably made it worse, especially in the second half when the guy kept saying, "Oh, they've had another chance, they saved another one, they're all over West Ham," and we're thinking, "Oh God, here we go, it's only one more chance and that'll be it." But we were the first ones to know it had finished, and obviously we managed to get over the line.
You'd already had a head start on the celebrations then.
Yeah, quite a bit of a head start, to be fair. So we were all right. Yeah.
Was it a good night, Jeff? Is that the haziest bit of the
day? To be honest with you, I don't remember too much of the night. I remember I think Liverpool was sponsored by Carlsberg at the time, and it was just tray after tray of beer were coming into the dressing room. So I would say everybody was 3 sheets to the wind before we even got on the bus. But we went. You might have to double. I think it was Bistro French in Preston. It was Bistro something. I don't know if the French is the right bit. But everybody was still in their tracksuits. Nobody got changed. So I went straight there. Families, wives, kids, everybody was there. And it just, from what I remember, being up dancing on tables, and obviously the beer was flowing. And that's sort of the next, 3-4 days after that. It was just a foggy haze of being in places and drinking.
So everyone's up dancing. Who had the best moves and who didn't have any?
Oh God, that's confidential. I couldn't tell you. I don't. Aaron might know better than me.
I mean, the story is that we'd obviously, to be fair, when we beat Newcastle, I think did Man U have to go to Coventry and play on the Tuesday or Wednesday?
No, Man U played Southampton at Old Trafford on the Wednesday.
Yeah, I knew they had a game, didn't they?
Yeah, I went to that game.
And we knew that if they did win, we were champions or something like that. And
yeah.
So there was a bit of a thing going on saying, you know, if you don't go, we'll go here, we'll go there on that night and celebrate sort of thing. So that was floating around. And I was at a presentation evening for junior kids doing a presentation. I couldn't concentrate whatsoever. I just wanted to know what the scores were and all that. So then when we get to the final game, it was said, well, what we'll do, we'll just come back into town, because when we got promoted in '92, we came back and went to the Woodlands pub on the way back, and it was fantastic. Then into town, and we thought, oh, we'll just do the same. It'll be, you know, special coming back into Blackburn and that. So after all the joy and like Jeff says, the beers flying in the change room on that, we get a call from somebody saying nobody can get anywhere near Blackburn. All the roads were shut because people were out on the streets and you couldn't get in. So then we had to change plan, and Kenny said he knows the Bistro French in Preston, like Jeff said, he'll phone them. So we phoned him, and the guy said, well, there's a private party downstairs, but you can come in, I've got a room upstairs you can use. So we go there and we go upstairs and we have a few drinks, and within an hour and a half, we're downstairs in the private party where they've got a band on and the lads are on the stage dancing away and singing with with the band and all sorts. It was fantastic. Like I said, I think Jeff did a few good moves, you know, if I can remember. I think he was right up there.
So there's nobody who's just really, really bad.
Yeah, well, maybe so. I think, well, Mims is not the best dancer, I must admit. He can't move to save his life.
What about within that group? You mentioned it takes all sorts of characters, doesn't it, to make a group like that? Who was sort of the leader within the group? Who got everybody in shape?
Well, for me, it was Tim Sherwood. He was the captain. He sort of ran the dressing room. I mean, obviously, there was a lot of big characters in there. Shearer, Newley was a big character. Stuart Ripley was a big character within that. But I would have said Tim, sort of, he was the one who organised anything that needed to be organised and passed on information. So I would say Tim.
Was he one of the jokers as well, Tim? Did he like to play a part in all of that?
Time.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah.
Is there any stitch up from that season on any one person you can remember?
Well, you see, I only came in the back end of the season, so I don't remember anything sort of, not certainly that you can talk about, put out on the air. I mean, so I don't know if Aaron has anything.
I mean, all the way through the 2 or 3 years we had in the Premier League, things got absolutely balmy. You know, they went from one extreme and they just kept moving up a level. You know, first off, you, like I said before, if you left your key on the table, you get back to your room and it'll be smashed up, and you know, there'll be beds up and cupboards all over the place, your clothes all over the place, and not, you know, that was the squad was so tight that nobody ever complained about it. You just I've been caught. You put your room back together, and you try and get the next one. And it happened like that. Then all of a sudden, Bats came in and said he knew how to get the peephole out of the doors. And so the next thing, we're getting fire extinguishers from the corridor, knocking on the players' doors, getting the peephole out, putting the fire extinguisher through the hole, knocking on the door, and as they come into the door, squirting them with fire extinguishers, and there's water all over the room and everything. It just got unbelievable. I mean, you know, before we've done this, Jeff mentioned the bus driver at Stoney. He wanted to be one of the players. You know, he sat with the players and everything. Great character himself, but he'd do anything to help. I mean, he locked him he threw a ball in the back of the boot of the bus before we went training, when we were away somewhere. And he went to get it, they locked the boot, left him in the boot. We were there for 2 hours training. He's in the boot, never said a word. Nobody knew he was there apart from Shero shut down on him. So it was, you know, some of the things that went on was unbelievable. But you know, it's great.
I do remember one story. I can't remember who, the lad that used to come and do valet the cars. Well, I had a convertible BMW, and I made this schoolboy error of leaving the roof down after my car had been valeted. And I came out after training, and every bin around the training ground had been emptied into my car. And I'm sure to this day, Newley and Shearer had something to do with that, but nobody admitted to it. So, but I'd never left the hood down after that, let me tell you.
Were those two partners in crime?
Oh, God, yeah. And Tim Flowers as well. They used to come over from Southport, I think. And they used to travel in together. So they were always, thick as thieves then.
Was it spread around, that kind of stuff, or was it always one person who get it? Or was it one person who you just wouldn't do it to? Was anybody that you just stayed clear of and thought, no?
No, I think everybody got it.
Yeah. I can definitely remember the keyhole one, my first away trip. I can't remember where it was. I was a little bit worried to what was going on because I'd heard the lads talking, and there was the bang on the door, and I sort of hesitantly walked towards the door, and I think they seen that I wasn't going to come any further, and the water came in, the fire extinguisher came through the peephole, but I managed to avoid it.
Did that keep going to the final game, or did you sort of sense things getting more serious as you crept towards the last couple of games of the season?
No, as far as I can remember, it was just any occasion at all to do something. Somebody was happy to do it.
Pick one game for me from that campaign, one game each. What was the most memorable game? Well, you perhaps take out the Newcastle, Liverpool, which everybody knows the importance of those two, but one of the games throughout that season, memorable for what reasons?
For me, there was a couple. Obviously, my debut at home. He would to Chelsea. I had family, friends over from Ireland, all sat in the stand. So that was a real proud one. And I've only scored one goal in my total career at Blackburn Rovers, and that was at home to Crystal Palace. So I have a very we won 2-1. I have a very fond memory of that one.
An important one, though.
A big goal, wasn't it? Yeah, very big goal. What
about you, Mark? Is there one game that stands out for you?
I think I've got two as well. I think the Southampton at home when Matt Le Tissier scored the worldie against Tim Flowers. I think that's a game. I mean, it was a fantastic game of football. I think we won 3-2.
I was in the Southampton team that night.
Was you? Yeah. I scored the first goal from a corner. It come out and I volleyed it straight back from the edge of the box and straight to the top corner. And so that's probably one of my best goals I've scored for Blackburn. And the other one for me, which was a big factor in us, gaining a lot of confidence, was the Everton away.
Yes.
When we scored early on, we scored after 13 seconds, something like Sutton, and then Shaver scored again. We were 2-0 up very early. And in the second half, we were just defending for our lives. I mean, at one stage, there's a clip somewhere showing there must have been 5 or 6 players laid on the floor trying to block shots, and it was in our goal mouth for about 10, 15 seconds, and we were all on the floor. And Colin Hendry actually heads the ball on the floor, laid on the floor when somebody was just about to kick it. And that really showed us the strength of the squad and how we were willing to put our bodies on the line for each other to get the points. And I thought after that game, that was like a bit of a turning point to say, yeah, this looks like we're going to do it now.
I guess one of the beauties of that whole campaign was the story behind it all, that we aren't one of the historically big clubs in the country. It was Jack Walker's arrival and the money that he put in and the journey from that point on to Premier League champions that made it so special. What about your memories of Jack Walker as a person? What was he like?
Well, I suppose you could say he was the original Abramovich, wasn't he? At that time, I think his wealth was £400 or £500 million, which was just absolutely phenomenal sort of money. But, I met Jack on my debut. He came into the dressing room. Kenny introduced him to me, and I called him Mr. Walker. And he went, no, son. Everybody calls me Jack. And he just sat down beside me, and he had a little chat. And he was just such a wonderful bloke. And gosh, he was just such a benefactor for the club. And it was so nice that we could win the Premier League for him.
And Mike, was he, again, a big character around the place? Did he have an aura about him?
Yeah, I mean, when he walked into any room, people knew he was there. He was very down to earth. Blackburn supporter all his life, wanted the club to do well, and that's where he wanted to put his money. But when he took over, every game he used to come in before the game. He used to come in after the game, whether we won, lose, drawn, been awful, been great. It didn't matter to him. He was always in the dressing room, shaking everybody's hand before the game, shake everybody's hand after the game. He'd have a game of pitch and toss with bats up against the wall with a 2-pence piece, take the money off people. Loved the gamble, Jack. He took us to Jersey for a couple of years after the end of the season for a couple of days away in his town, and we never spent a penny. He'd pay for everything, took us all over. We played his own Sunday team a couple of times just to, give them a bit of coverage as well. But great guy. Everything that season was done from the players for Jack as well, not just for everybody in Blackburn, but massively for Jack, for the way he'd helped the club push forward. It was a great sending him a message to say, well, this is from us for you, Jack, really.
Was he sort of one of the lads at times then when he's in that dressing room? Did he just feel like part of that group?
I'm sure he did, yeah, because everybody respected him, everybody loved him. And like Mark said, he was so down to earth, and I think he really enjoyed being in the dressing room and being just chatting with the lads and messing about with the lads. It obviously made him feel very much part of what was going on.
Mark?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. He didn't feel uncomfortable being in there, and nobody else felt uncomfortable. He's the owner of the club. He put all his money in, but if he wanted to take the mickey out of you, he did. You could take the mickey out of him. There was all sorts being said in there, but it was something that we just got used to. But, you know, if Jack didn't come over once, it was like, well, where's Jack? Why is he not here? You know, is that going to be his look gone and things like that? But we were just so used to him coming in and being one of the parts of the team, really. He was part of it.
I think the whole thing was such a fairy tale. When you're part of that and part of the history forever of this football club, how special does that feel?
Well, for me, I'm immensely proud. I was previously to sign for Blackburn. I was at Southampton. We were sort of, if we finished middle table, that was a big success for us. We were, gosh, on more seasons than I care to remember, we were just fighting relegation. So to move up to Blackburn, be part of a phenomenal squad that managed to win the Premier League, it just makes me immensely proud.
Yeah, I mean, I came in '88. I think my first game there was 8,000 on there. You know, on Ewood on a muddy pitch, and stands ready to fall down and things like that. So for to go from where I came and to win the Premier League in like 7 years, it was just unbelievable to have the stadium that they built, the training ground. I mean, we were training on Pleasanton in 1988, 89, and you'd have to move all the dog muck out of the way first before you could train. And, you know, you were doing a swab of seeing if there's anything else lying around and things like that. So it was really, really bad. But, you know, to take this football club to that level and win the Premier League is something special for all of us. You know, the staff, everybody concerned with it, all the players. And it was just like I said before, it was just one family. And it's great. I mean, for me now, this is, you know, Blackburn is my football club. It'll never be anything else. Even when I moved on, it was not the same when you move to another club. But this will also be my club. And it's great to say that you've won the Premier League with the football club you really love.
So what did you do on Thursday night then? This Thursday, the actual anniversary of clinching the title. Do you sort of get the medal out, dust it down? Is it somewhere to hand in both your houses?
It's not in my house now. I would have to go and find it, dig it out. I hadn't actually thought at all about it until you got in touch, but I'm sure I will. Now that you've mentioned it, I'll get it out and have a little look, and might have a beer or two.
Mark, this is where you pull it from your pocket and go, here it is.
Are you ready? Are you ready? It's around my neck. Yeah.
Who wears it everywhere?
Yeah, it's something we have it at home, and my wife puts it in different places, so I can't keep going and getting it, to be fair, I think. But it comes out now and again. But I think Thursday is going to be a special day for everybody involved. You know, I think we'll have a drink and say thanks to everybody, all your teammates who were all there for us. We were a good group. Great, the support that season was fantastic, and it was something that we never thought would happen. But we made it happen. Well,
gentlemen, do have a beer, reminisce, and celebrate again what was, just like I said before, an unbelievable time for the football club, and you two more than played a huge part in it as well. So, congratulations again, 25 years on. Enjoy Thursday night. Thanks for your time, and we'll speak soon.
Cheers.
Thank you.